It was the summer of 2010, in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Michigan. The kind of place where neighbors wave at each other from driveways. Kids ride their bikes down tree-lined streets. And the biggest scandal is when Mrs. Anderson's garden gnomes go missing every spring. This was a place where everyone felt safe and knew each other's business, or at least, they thought they did. Our story starts with Tom Barnes. Tom's in his late 30s, a hardworking guy who's built a successful career as a sales manager for a local tech firm. He's got that approachable, easygoing vibe, always ready to lend a hand or crack a joke. He's well-liked in the neighborhood, the kind of guy who coaches Little League and knows everyone's names. But Tom's biggest source of pride is his family. He's been married to his high school sweetheart, Lily, for over a decade. They have 2 kids, Jake, 10, and Emma, 7, who are the center of their lives. Lily is the kind of woman everyone admires. She's warm, kind-hearted, and deeply involved in the community. Between school fundraisers, neighborhood events, and keeping their household running, she's always on the go, always there for everyone. To everyone around her, she's the perfect wife and mother, the glue that holds the family together. And Tom feels incredibly lucky to have her. From the outside looking in, they seem like the perfect family. But, as with many things, appearances can be deceiving. It all starts innocently enough. Tom's company is launching a major new product, which means late nights, weekend work, and a lot of stress. He's often exhausted, stretched thin between his work commitments and trying to be present at home. Lily, too, is busy juggling her own responsibilities, and slowly, the time they spend together becomes less and less. The laughter they used to share is replaced by silence, the long conversations by brief, hurried exchanges. But Tom, ever the optimist, chalks it up to the usual stresses of life and marriage. He's confident that they'll find their way back to each other, just as they always have. Then enters Eric, Tom's new colleague. Eric's in his early 40s, recently transferred from the East Coast office. He's sharp, ambitious, and has a knack for making people feel comfortable. Tom and Eric hit it off right away. They start grabbing coffee together, talking about work, sharing stories about their families. Eric is also married, or at least he was until a few years ago. He often mentions his ex-wife in passing, never getting into too many details, just enough to hint that things didn't end well. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Eric suggests they unwind at a local bar. Just one drink to take the edge off, he says. Tom, needing a break from the constant demands of work and home, agrees. They talk about everything from office politics to their favorite sports teams. Feels good to let loose, to have a bit of time for himself. As Tom begins spending more time with Eric, he also starts to notice a shift in his own life. At first, it's subtle. He feels a little more irritable, a little less patient. He starts coming home later than usual, exhausted and sometimes frustrated. The kids notice it, and so does Lily. She tries to ask him about it, but he brushes it off, claiming work is just intense right now. She accepts his explanation, but there's an unspoken tension between them. Nights that used to be filled with laughter and conversation now feel like they're just going through the motions. A few weeks pass, and Lily mentions she's been invited to a friend's birthday party that weekend. Tom encourages her to go, saying she deserves a night out. She seems hesitant but agrees, and for the first time in a while, she's genuinely excited. She spends the evening getting ready, picking out a dress, doing her hair, and Tom can't help but smile, remembering the days when they'd get dressed up for dates together. When Lily heads out, Tom settles in for a quiet night, planning to catch up on some work. But as the hours tick by, he starts to feel a little restless. He tries calling Lily just to check in, but it goes straight to voicemail. He sends a quick text, but there's no reply. He tells himself she's probably just caught up in the moment, but something nags at him. A small, unidentifiable feeling he can't shake. When Lily finally gets home, she's different. There's a glow about her, a lightness that Tom hasn't seen in a long time. She tells him she had a great time, but she's vague about the details. And when he presses a little, she becomes defensive, brushing off his questions as overprotective. Tom tries to shake off the doubts creeping into his mind, but he can't ignore the feeling that something has changed. The next few weeks, Lily's behavior becomes more unpredictable. She starts going out more frequently, and she's often distracted, lost in her thoughts even when she's home. Tom notices she's texting more, smiling at her phone in a way that stirs an uncomfortable feeling in his gut. He tries to bring it up one evening, casually asking if everything's okay, but she brushes it off again, saying she's just busy with volunteer work. One Saturday afternoon, Tom's suspicions get the better of him. Lily leaves her phone on the kitchen counter while she's in the shower. Tom glances at it, feeling a mix of guilt and curiosity. He picks it up, telling himself he just wants to make sure everything's okay. But when he opens her messages, his heart sinks. There are texts from an unknown number, filled with affectionate words and inside jokes. His mind races as he scrolls through, piecing together the evidence of a relationship he didn't know existed. The betrayal hits him like a tidal wave. He's torn between anger, confusion, and sadness. He never imagined that Lily, his Lily, could be involved with someone else. His mind starts to spiral, replaying every recent moment, every late night, every unanswered question. But he doesn't confront her. Not yet. Tom's discovery of those texts rocks his world. His mind races with questions. Who could this person be? How long has this been going on? And most painfully, why? For days, Tom tries to keep his suspicions to himself, but he can't ignore the knot growing in his stomach every time he sees Lily laughing at her phone or leaving the house without much explanation. He's caught in this strange, silent war, battling his own fears and insecurities without anyone knowing. In the beginning, Tom tries to brush it off, telling himself it might all be some kind of misunderstanding. He even considers that the messages could be harmless, a friend from her volunteer work or maybe an old high school friend reconnecting. But every time he picks up her phone, he sees the same pattern of late-night messages and affectionate emojis that make it clear this isn't just a casual friendship. One night, the tension finally gets the better of him. Lily's out again, and Tom's mind spirals, imagining what she might be doing. He can't sit still. So, he decides to clear his mind by going for a walk around the neighborhood. But as he's out there, passing by their favorite spots, the coffee shop where they'd have their morning dates, the park where they took the kids as toddlers, he feels the weight of everything crashing down on him. And when he returns home, Lily is still not back. Something inside him snaps. He picks up her phone one last time, scrolling through the messages until he finds one that finally answers his questions. A meeting spot, not far from their neighborhood, with the words, "Tonight was incredible. Can't wait for the next one." And just like that, Tom's suspicions are confirmed. The person she's seeing isn't some long-lost friend. It's someone who's been seeing his wife in ways he hadn't been able to for months, maybe even longer. The next morning, Tom decides he can't live like this. He can't keep pretending everything is fine while the secret is tearing him apart. But he's still not ready to confront her directly. Instead, he decides to confide in Eric. After all, they'd grown close over the past few months, and he feels like he can trust him. They meet up at a quiet bar, and Tom spills everything, from the late nights to the texts he found. Eric listens patiently, but his response surprises Tom. Instead of offering sympathy or advice, Eric seems almost neutral. He shrugs and says something like, "Hey man, sometimes these things happen. People change." His words feel hollow, almost dismissive. But Tom, desperate for any kind of support, doesn't question it. He takes it as a nudge to face his fears and finally talk to Lily. That evening, Tom gathers his courage. He waits until the kids are asleep, then asks Lily to sit down for a conversation. At first, she seems confused, maybe even annoyed, but she quickly realizes this isn't something he's going to drop easily. Tom takes a deep breath and tells her everything he's seen. The late nights, the phone messages, the sudden change in their relationship. He lays it all out, hoping she'll have an explanation, something that will make this all make sense. Lily's reaction is unexpected. Instead of denial or apologies, she grows defensive, almost cold. She insists that Tom's being paranoid, that he's blowing things out of proportion. She even flips the conversation, accusing him of not being around enough, of focusing more on work than their family. Tom, blindsided by her reaction, tries to reason with her, but she shuts him down, dismissing his concerns as jealousy and insecurity. After that night, things between them are never the same. The tension is palpable, and even the kids begin to notice the change. They ask why mommy and daddy aren't spending as much time together, and Tom, feeling like a stranger in his own home, tries to reassure them, but he's struggling to hold himself together. He goes through the motions, but every interaction with Lily feels forced, tense, and empty. Weeks pass, and Tom feels himself slipping further away from the life he once cherished. Lily continues to live her life as if nothing happened, going out, laughing with her friends, and showing no sign of remorse or guilt. Tom tries to focus on work, but even there he feels off. Eric, who once seemed like a friend, now feels distant, and Tom begins to wonder if he's truly been supportive or if he's just been a passive bystander. One night, Tom is alone in his office, going over sales reports, when he receives an unexpected message from an unknown number. It's a simple, cryptic message. "You deserve to know the truth. Meet me at the park tomorrow at noon." Tom stares at his phone, unsure what to make of it. Is this some kind of prank? But something in his gut tells him he can't ignore it. He needs answers, and this could be his chance to finally get them. The next day, Tom goes to the park, feeling a mix of dread and anticipation. He's scanning the area, unsure who to look for, when he sees a familiar face, Eric. Tom's heart sinks as Eric walks up to him, a strange look in his eyes. And before Tom can even ask why he's there, Eric begins to talk. He explains in a calm, almost detached manner that he's the one who's been seeing Lily. He didn't intend for it to happen, he says, but it just felt right, somehow. Tom is stunned. He can hardly process the words. His friend, the one person he'd confided in, the one person he thought he could trust, has been betraying him all along. The weight of the betrayal crashes down on him, and for a moment, he's speechless, unable to comprehend how everything he knew could crumble so quickly. Eric goes on, justifying his actions, saying he understands if Tom is angry, but that he couldn't help how he felt. Tom, fueled by a mixture of rage and heartbreak, confronts Eric, demanding to know how he could betray him like this. Eric, however, shows no remorse. Instead, he tries to downplay it, suggesting that maybe Tom and Lily's marriage was already on the rocks, and that what he and Lily have is something real. This is a turning point for Tom. He realizes that everything he thought he had, his family, his friendship with Eric, his entire life, is built on lies and deception. In that moment, he makes a decision. He's not going to sit back and let this betrayal destroy him. He's going to fight for the truth, for his kids, and for the life he worked so hard to build. But as Tom walks away from Eric, his mind racing with everything he's learned, he realizes he's now at a crossroads. He can confront Lily and force her to face the consequences, or he can take a different route, one that will allow him to rebuild his life without the toxic people who've torn it apart. If you're finding yourself hooked on this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We've got more twists, turns, and intense moments coming up, so stay tuned. Tom heads home, his heart heavy but his mind made up. He's no longer the man who will sit idly by while his life is torn apart. He knows that confronting Lily won't be easy, and it's likely going to hurt, but he's ready. He waits until the kids are in bed and then, with as much calm as he can muster, he tells Lily they need to talk. At first, she resists, but Tom's calm, unwavering tone leaves her no choice. He confronts her about Eric, recounting every detail Eric confessed, and for the first time, he sees a crack in her facade. She tries to deny it, but her hesitation, the guilt in her eyes, tells him everything he needs to know. She's been caught and there's no way out. Lily finally breaks down, admitting the affair. She tries to justify it, talking about how lonely she felt, how Tom was never around. But Tom isn't here for her excuses. He's here for the truth, and as she speaks, he realizes that she's been looking for reasons to justify her betrayal rather than taking responsibility. He listens in silence, letting her words wash over him, but he feels a strange sense of detachment. He's no longer the same man who was blindsided by those texts. He's someone who's seen the ugly side of the people he once trusted, and while it hurts, he knows that he's ready to face whatever comes next. And with that, Tom tells her what he's been feeling for weeks. He tells her about the pain, the betrayal, the way she's shattered his trust and his heart. Lily listens, tears streaming down her face, but he knows that nothing she says can change the reality of what she's done. The relationship they once had is gone, and no amount of apologies can bring it back. That wraps up part 2 of our story. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next chapter, where Tom faces the aftermath of this confrontation and begins the journey of rebuilding his life. After Tom's heartbreaking confrontation with Lily, he feels a strange combination of relief and devastation. The truth is finally out, but it's like a wound that's been ripped open, raw and impossible to ignore. For a while, the house is silent, filled only with the tension of two people whose lives have been shattered by betrayal. Lily tries to reach out, to apologize, but Tom has nothing left to say. His mind is already racing ahead, thinking about what this will mean for his kids, for their future, and for himself. He spends the next few days in a fog, going through the motions at work and trying to keep up appearances. His coworkers notice something's off, but he brushes off their concerns. Eric keeps his distance, almost as if he's embarrassed by the whole situation. But that doesn't stop Tom from feeling a constant, simmering anger every time he sees him. It's a strange kind of pain, knowing the person you once considered a friend is the same one who tore your life apart. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Tom finds himself sitting alone in his car, unable to bring himself to go inside. He looks at the family photo hanging from his rearview mirror. Their last family vacation, everyone smiling, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. He feels a pang of guilt, wondering if there was something he could have done differently, some way he could have saved his family from falling apart. But then something shifts. Tom realizes that he's done blaming himself. He didn't ask for this, he didn't deserve this, and for the first time he feels a surge of determination. He's not going to let this betrayal define him or destroy his relationship with his kids. He decides right then and there that he's going to fight for his family and his dignity, even if it means confronting some painful truths. The next day, Tom takes the first step toward moving on. He meets with a lawyer to discuss his options. He knows that divorce is likely inevitable, but he wants to make sure he's prepared, that he can protect his kids from as much pain as possible. The lawyer listens carefully, offering a mix of legal advice and genuine empathy, which Tom finds strangely comforting. For the first time in weeks, he feels like he has a bit of control over his life again, like he's taking steps toward a future where he can find peace. Meanwhile, Lily is struggling in her own way. She tries to apologize to Tom, to make amends, but he keeps her at arm's length. She doesn't fully understand the depth of the pain she's caused, but she can feel the weight of it every time she sees him. She spends her days trying to keep up with the kids, to pretend like things are normal, but the guilt is a constant reminder of the life she's thrown away. One evening, as they're putting the kids to bed, Tom and Lily find themselves alone in the hallway. She looks at him, her eyes filled with regret, and says, "I know I've hurt you, Tom. I can't take it back, but I want to try to make it right." Tom looks at her, and for a moment he's tempted to believe her, to give her a chance. But then he remembers the betrayal, the lies, and the pain she's caused. He takes a deep breath and says, "Lily, I don't think you understand. You didn't just hurt me. You tore apart everything we built together. I don't know if that's something we can ever come back from." Lily's face falls, and she nods, understanding that this is a turning point. She realizes that her actions have consequences, that she's lost something precious that she may never be able to regain. As the days go by, the tension between them only grows. They try to keep things civil for the sake of the kids, but it's clear that their relationship has reached a breaking point. Tom becomes more distant, spending more time at work, while Lily throws herself into her community activities, trying to distract herself from the guilt and regret that linger in her heart. Then, one evening, Tom receives a call that changes everything. This is from Eric's ex-wife, Megan. She's heard about what's happened and reaches out, offering a sympathetic ear. Tom is hesitant at first, but as they talk, he finds comfort in her words, in her understanding of the betrayal he's been through. Megan reveals that Eric had a history of infidelity, something she tried to forgive but ultimately couldn't. Hearing her story gives Tom a sense of closure, a realization that this isn't his fault, that he's not alone in his pain. Their conversation sparks something in Tom. He begins to see a future beyond the betrayal, a life where he can find happiness again. And with Megan's encouragement, he decides to take the next step in moving on. Tom files for divorce. It's a painful decision, but he knows it's the right one. He sits down with Lily, explaining that they need to create a plan for co-parenting, for moving forward in a way that minimizes the impact on their kids. Lily listens, her expression a mix of sadness and resignation, understanding that this is the end of their marriage. As the weeks go by, Tom finds himself rebuilding his life. He reconnects with old friends, starts taking better care of himself, and begins to find joy in the little things again. His relationship with his kids becomes his top priority, and he makes an effort to be there for them, to create new memories that aren't tainted by the pain of the past. One evening, Tom takes the kids out for ice cream. They're laughing, sharing stories, and for a moment, he feels a sense of peace, a glimpse of the life he's building for himself. It's a life filled with love, resilience, and hope, a life where he's no longer defined by the betrayal he endured. But as he looks at his kids, he knows that there's still one more chapter to this story, one final step toward healing. He's ready to face the future, to let go of the pain, and to embrace the new life he's created for himself and his family. That wraps up the intense buildup of Tom's journey. If you're as invested in this story as we are, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the final, unforgettable conclusion coming up next. As Tom moves forward with the divorce, he begins to feel like he's finally taking control of his life again. But just when he thinks things are settling, a new twist flips his world upside down. One evening, as he's finishing up some paperwork, he gets an unexpected email from an anonymous sender. The subject line reads, "There's more you need to know about Eric and Lily." Against his better judgment, Tom opens the email. It contains a series of screenshots, messages between Eric and another woman, not Lily. It turns out Eric wasn't just having an affair with Tom's wife. He was seeing multiple women, all while pretending to be Lily's new soulmate. The screenshots reveal that Eric had no real interest in Lily beyond the thrill of the affair. He even boasts about how he was only interested in the chase, never intending to get serious with her. Tom's heart sinks as he realizes the full extent of the betrayal. Not only did his wife cheat on him, but she fell for a man who never had genuine feelings for her. The reality is brutal, and Tom can't help but feel a mixture of anger and pity. He debates whether or not to confront Lily with the truth, knowing that it would devastate her, but it might also be the wake-up call she needs to understand the damage she's caused. The next day, Tom decides he can't keep this information to himself. He arranges to meet Lily at a coffee shop, away from the house and the kids. When she arrives, she's surprised to see him so serious, and Tom doesn't waste any time getting to the point. He shows her the screenshots, explaining what he's learned about Eric's true intentions. At first, Lily is defensive, accusing Tom of trying to hurt her, to make her feel guilty. But as she scrolls through the messages, her face changes, her confidence faltering as the truth sinks in. She realizes she was just another conquest to Eric, another notch in his belt. For a moment, she's speechless, and then she looks up at Tom, her eyes filled with a mixture of shame and sadness. "I thought he cared about me," she whispers, more to herself than to Tom. Tom watches her reaction, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Part of him is glad she's finally feeling the weight of her actions, but another part of him feels sympathy for the woman he once loved, the mother of his children. He tells her, gently but firmly, that she needs to own up to the choices she made, not just to him but to herself. This confrontation becomes a turning point for both of them. For Lily, it's a harsh wake-up call. She begins to see the impact her actions have had on Tom, the kids, and even on herself. The affair with Eric, which once seemed like a thrilling escape, now feels hollow and destructive. She begins to realize that she needs to make amends, to try and repair the damage she's caused, even if it's too late to save her marriage. For Tom, this confrontation brings a sense of closure. He's no longer haunted by questions or doubts. He knows the truth, and he's ready to move on, to build a life free from the lies and betrayal that once weighed him down. He feels a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to focus on his kids and his future. As the divorce proceedings move forward, Tom begins to rebuild his life. He invests more time in his career, takes up new hobbies, and reconnects with friends he'd lost touch with. He even starts therapy, determined to work through the pain and anger to come out of this experience stronger and wiser. Meanwhile, Lily struggles to come to terms with the reality of her choices. She tries to make amends with the kids, to be a better mother, but she knows it will take time to rebuild the trust she's lost. She realizes that her affair with Eric wasn't just a betrayal of her marriage. It was a betrayal of her own values, of the life she'd once cherished. One night, as they're co-parenting, Lily approaches Tom with a request. She wants to attend one of his therapy sessions with him, to better understand what he's been going through. Tom is hesitant at first, unsure if he's ready to share that vulnerable space with her. But after some thought, he agrees, hoping that it might bring them both a sense of closure, a chance to move forward without bitterness. In the session, they each share their perspectives, their pain, and their regrets. Lily finally acknowledges the full extent of the hurt she caused, admitting that her actions were selfish and reckless. Tom, in turn, opens up about the loneliness he felt, the betrayal, and the process of rebuilding himself from the ground up. By the end of the session, they reach a new understanding. They'll never be the couple they once were, but they can be co-parents who respect each other, who support their kids and work together to create a stable environment for them. For the first time, they part ways with a sense of peace, knowing they've done everything they could to make things right. If you're finding this journey as intense as we are, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on more captivating stories. After the therapy session, a tense peace settles over Tom and Lily's lives. For the sake of their kids, they manage to create a routine of shared responsibilities and mutual respect. But beneath the surface, Tom is still haunted by lingering resentment and anger. Even with closure, the wounds haven't fully healed, and there's one last thing he knows he needs to do to move on completely. That's when he decides to confront Eric one last time. Tom knows that speaking to him again could stir up painful emotions, but he feels he won't be able to truly put this chapter behind him until he faces Eric and gets the final word. Tom tracks Eric down at a restaurant he frequents after work. Eric is surprised to see him, his face a mix of guilt and defiance. Tom doesn't waste any time, jumping straight into the heart of the matter. "Why?" he demands. "Why would you go after someone else's wife and especially mine? I trusted you. We were friends." Eric's usual confidence falters. He fumbles for words, clearly unprepared for the confrontation. He starts with a few hollow excuses, saying that he never meant to hurt anyone, and things just happened. But Tom isn't buying it. He presses Eric further, demanding to know what he really wanted out of all this. Eric finally drops the facade, revealing a bitterness that Tom hadn't seen before. He admits that he's always envied Tom, the family, the stability, the respect Tom commands from others. In his twisted way, the affair was Eric's way of tearing down what he could never have. "You were always the good guy, the perfect husband, the model employee." Eric sneers, bitterness seeping into his voice. "I just wanted to see if it was real, if you were as perfect as everyone thought you were." Tom feels a surge of anger but also a strange sense of pity. He realizes that Eric's betrayal was never truly about Lily. It was about Eric's own insecurities and his need to feel powerful, to control something he couldn't have. Standing there, Tom realizes that confronting Eric has lifted a weight off his shoulders. He no longer feels the need to understand or forgive. He just feels ready to leave this man, and all the pain he brought, behind him. As Tom walks away, he feels a strange sense of freedom. He realizes that he doesn't need revenge or justice. He's already won by simply surviving this ordeal and coming out stronger on the other side. The next few days are a turning point for Tom. He throws himself into his work and his family, making it clear to himself and everyone around him that he's moving on. His relationship with his kids begins to blossom again, filled with the joy and laughter he thought he'd lost. He even begins to open up to the idea of dating again, though he's taking it slow, focusing on healing and rediscovering who he is outside of his past. Meanwhile, Lily struggles with her own journey. The weight of her mistakes and the realization that she fell for someone as manipulative as Eric have left her feeling lost and ashamed. She tries to make amends with the kids, to be there for them, but she knows it will take time to rebuild the trust she's broken. One evening, as Tom is tucking the kids into bed, his youngest, Emma, looks up at him with wide, curious eyes and asks, "Daddy, are we always going to live in two houses now?" The question stings, a reminder of the lasting impact of everything they've been through. But Tom answers with a reassuring smile. "For now, yes," he says gently. "But it doesn't mean I won't always be there for you, no matter where we live." That night, Tom sits alone, reflecting on everything he's learned and lost. He realizes that his journey isn't just about overcoming betrayal. It's about rediscovering his own strength and resilience. He decides that from now on, he's going to focus on what truly matters: being a father, building a life he's proud of, and embracing the future with hope. In the following weeks, Tom feels a renewed sense of purpose. His career begins to flourish as he throws himself into new projects, impressing his bosses and colleagues with his dedication and passion. His friendships deepen as he reconnects with people he'd lost touch with, finding solace in the support of those who truly care about him. But perhaps the most unexpected part of his journey comes when he meets someone new, a woman named Sarah, who shares his love of adventure and laughter. They meet by chance at a mutual friend's party, and their connection is immediate, easy, and unforced. For the first time in a long time, Tom feels a spark of excitement, a glimpse of a future that's free from the shadows of his past. As he gets to know Sarah, he's careful not to rush things, taking the time to truly enjoy each moment, each conversation, each shared laugh. He's learned the hard way that trust is fragile, that love requires effort and commitment, but he's also discovered that he's capable of moving forward, of embracing the unknown with open arms. One evening, as Tom and Sarah walk along a quiet beach, watching the sunset, he feels a sense of peace that he never thought he'd feel again. He knows that his journey isn't over, that there will still be challenges and heartache along the way, but he's ready to face them with strength, resilience, and hope. And that wraps up the climactic build-up of Tom's story. If you've been moved by his journey as much as we have, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories like this one. As Tom begins to heal and rebuild his life, he feels stronger, like he's finally leaving the past behind. But just when he's finding his footing, a twist brings everything rushing back. One evening, he receives an unexpected letter, certified, official-looking, and with Lily's name in the sender's address. Curious but cautious, he opens it, scanning the text to find a shocking revelation. Lily is filing for primary custody of the kids. Tom's mind reels. He thought they'd reached a stable co-parenting arrangement, a delicate balance that worked for the children. This blindsides him. Feeling a surge of panic and anger, he wonders if this is her way of punishing him for moving on, for refusing to consider any possibility of reconciliation. The next day, Tom confronts Lily about the letter. They meet in a public park, both of them wary but determined to avoid creating a scene in front of the kids. Tom, struggling to keep his composure, asks why she's doing this, why she wants to disrupt the fragile peace they've managed to build. Lily's response is calculated but tinged with frustration. She accuses Tom of being unstable since the divorce, claiming he's too focused on his career and new relationship to be a responsible father. Tom, stunned, listens in disbelief. He realizes that she's grasping at straws, using his recent progress and newfound happiness against him in an attempt to regain control. This confrontation becomes a turning point. For the first time, Tom sees a different side of Lily, someone who's driven more by pride than by a genuine concern for their children. He decides that he's not going to let her rewrite the narrative or use the kids as pawns. He reaches out to his lawyer, determined to fight for his rights as a father and ensure that his kids have stability and love, regardless of their parents' issues. The next few weeks are filled with intense preparation. Tom gathers evidence, from positive testimonials from friends and family to letters from his children's teachers, all vouching for his dedication and support. He even takes on a parenting course, hoping to show the court his commitment. Through this process, he finds himself growing even closer to his kids, realizing that they're his anchor in this storm. Every time he feels overwhelmed, he remembers why he's doing this, to protect their happiness and well-being. The custody battle is grueling, filled with tense courtroom scenes where both sides present their cases. Tom feels the weight of each argument, each point that tries to paint him as a distracted father or an unreliable parent. He knows these are tactics, but they still sting, challenging him to stay calm and focused for the sake of his kids. At one point, his lawyer presents a piece of crucial evidence: Lily's text to Eric during the affair, messages that show she prioritized her personal desires over her responsibilities as a mother. It's a pivotal moment, one that shifts the narrative and sheds light on her choices. Tom watches Lily's reaction as the texts are read aloud, her expression a mix of anger and humiliation. She knows that her actions are now fully exposed, that her attempt to claim sole custody is crumbling. The judge, taking in all the evidence and considering the children's best interests, ultimately decides to grant joint custody, with the condition that both parents attend co-parenting counseling sessions. It's a fair outcome, but the real victory for Tom is knowing he didn't give up, that he fought for his children and won the chance to be a constant presence in their lives. In the days following the verdict, Tom feels a new sense of liberation. The custody battle, though painful, has given him the closure he needed. He's proven, to himself and everyone else, that he's capable of rising above the past, of fighting for what matters without losing himself in the process. Lily, on the other hand, retreats. She begins to distance herself, her pride wounded by the court's decision and the public exposure of her actions. She tries to maintain her relationship with the kids, but it's clear that the events of the past few months have left a mark on her, one that she'll have to face in her own time. With the battle behind him, Tom finally feels free to fully embrace his future. He continues to see Sarah, whose steady support and understanding have been a source of comfort throughout the ordeal. They take things slow, building a relationship based on trust, honesty, and shared goals. One evening, as Tom sits with Sarah by the fireplace, he reflects on everything he's been through: the betrayal, the heartbreak, the anger. All of it has led him to this moment, to a place where he can genuinely smile and look forward to what's to come. He knows that his journey isn't over, that there will still be challenges, but he's ready to face them with resilience and hope. As he looks at Sarah, he realizes that he's found something he didn't think was possible: a second chance at happiness, built on the lessons he's learned and the strength he's gained. For the first time in a long time, he feels whole. And with that, he's ready to move forward, to leave the past behind, and to live a life filled with purpose, love, and the unwavering dedication to his family that has guided him all along. If you're inspired by Tom's journey and want to hear more powerful stories like this, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more unforgettable tales. With the custody battle behind him, Tom starts to believe that the storm has finally passed. He's ready to settle into a new routine, focusing on co-parenting and rebuilding his life. But as he's beginning to find peace, another surprise hits. A revelation that brings all the unresolved tension and emotions rushing back to the surface. One evening, while picking up the kids from Lily's house, Tom notices a familiar car parked down the street. It's Eric's. At first, he tells himself it's probably nothing. Maybe Eric is visiting someone nearby. But as he watches from his car, he sees Eric walk up to Lily's front door, where she lets him in without hesitation. Tom feels his heart pounding, a mixture of anger, betrayal, and disbelief flooding his mind. He thought she was done with Eric after the court case, after everything had been laid out in front of her. But this, seeing Eric reappear in Lily's life, brings back every painful memory of their affair. every moment of humiliation and heartbreak. Tom realizes that she hasn't fully let go of Eric, even after everything they went through. Unable to contain his anger, Tom confronts Lily the next day. He asks why she would allow Eric back into her life after all the damage he caused. Lily, caught off guard, tries to brush it off, saying that Eric was just dropping something off, and that it's not what he thinks. But Tom can tell she's hiding something. He's been through too much to ignore the signs, the evasive way she avoids his gaze, the slight tension in her voice. This confrontation escalates, turning into a heated argument. Tom accuses Lily of disrespecting him and their children by allowing the man who destroyed their family back into their lives. Lily retaliates, accusing Tom of trying to control her, of holding her mistakes over her head as if he's never done anything wrong. The exchange grows increasingly bitter, the weight of their unresolved pain and resentment fueling each accusation. As they argue, Tom feels a shift in himself. The anger, the bitterness, it no longer has the same hold on him. He's hurt, yes, but he realizes that his happiness no longer depends on Lily's choices or her actions. She may still be entangled in her past, but he's determined not to let her drag him back into it. For the first time, Tom chooses to walk away from the argument. He tells her that she's free to make her own decisions, but he won't let her choices affect his happiness or his relationship with their children. Lily, visibly taken aback, tries to argue, but Tom remains calm, refusing to be pulled into another battle. He realizes that he has the power to decide what kind of future he wants, and he won't let anyone take that away from him. This moment becomes a pivotal turning point for Tom. It's as if he's closed the final chapter on his past, choosing to focus on his future instead. He no longer feels the need to confront Lily or seek closure from her. He understands now that closure isn't something she can give him. It's something he has to find within himself. In the days that follow, Tom's new perspective transforms his life. He spends more quality time with his kids, creating new memories that aren't tainted by the pain of the past. His relationship with Sarah deepens, and he finally allows himself to open up to her fully, sharing the details of his journey and the lessons he's learned. With each passing day, he feels more grounded, more certain of who he is and what he wants in life. Meanwhile, Lily begins to feel the consequences of her choices. Without Tom's support and with the knowledge that he's moved on, she finds herself increasingly isolated. Her friends, who once sympathized with her, start to pull away, unwilling to stand by as she rekindles her connection with Eric. She realizes, too late, that her actions have pushed away the people who genuinely cared about her. One evening, Lily calls Tom, hoping to mend fences, to ask if they can meet and talk. Tom, though hesitant, agrees, wanting to ensure they can co-parent effectively and peacefully. They meet at a local park, the same place where they once walked together with their kids. As they talk, Lily tries to apologize, but Tom senses that her apology is less about regret and more about loneliness. He listens quietly, offering her a sense of closure, but he makes it clear that he's moved on, that his focus is on their children and his own happiness. For the first time, Lily truly understands that she's lost him, not just as a husband, but as the person who once stood by her through everything. She leaves the conversation visibly affected, realizing that the life she took for granted is gone. As Tom watches her walk away, he feels a sense of peace wash over him. He knows that he's done everything he can, that he's given their relationship and their family every ounce of effort he had. Now, he's ready to fully embrace his future, to live a life free from the shadows of his past. In the weeks that follow, Tom's life takes on a new rhythm. He and Sarah grow closer, their bond strengthened by the honesty and understanding they've built. His kids, too, begin to thrive, finding stability in the new life he's created for them. And as for Lily, she fades into the background, a part of his story but no longer a part of his life. For the first time in years, Tom feels whole, ready to face whatever the future holds with strength, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to his own happiness and his children's well-being. If you've followed Tom's journey this far, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to stay connected with us for more inspiring and intense stories. In the aftermath of his final conversation with Lily, Tom steps fully into the next chapter of his life. There's no more need for closure or lingering questions. He's found peace within himself, and for the first time, he feels a genuine sense of freedom. The burden of the past has finally lifted, and he's ready to build a future rooted in love, strength, and resilience. Tom focuses his energy on being the best father he can be, creating new traditions with his kids that bring them closer. Weekend hikes, cooking nights, and evening walks become cherished routines, bringing a sense of stability and joy to their lives. He notices the kids laughing more, sharing their thoughts freely, and blossoming in this new life they've built together. Tom realizes that this is his true victory, seeing his children thrive and feeling their connection deepen. His relationship with Sarah, too, reaches a beautiful stage of growth and commitment. She's been his steady support, understanding his need for space and patience while he healed. Together, they build a relationship based on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. One evening, while they're watching a movie with the kids, Tom feels a wave of gratitude wash over him. Here, in this moment, he has everything he needs. A partner who truly cares for him, kids who are happy and secure, and a life he's proud of. Lily, meanwhile, has begun her own journey of reflection. She's realized, albeit painfully, the full impact of her choices. Without Tom's constant presence and support, she's had to confront the reality of her actions and the emptiness left in the wake of her decisions. She distances herself from Eric, recognizing that her affair was less about love and more about an escape from the parts of herself she hadn't faced. Slowly, she begins to focus on rebuilding her own life, though she knows that the family she once had is gone. As the months go by, the co-parenting arrangement between Tom and Lily settles into a peaceful rhythm. They're able to communicate with mutual respect and understanding, putting the kids' well-being above all else. Though they'll never be what they once were, they find a way to work together, creating a stable environment that allows their children to flourish. Tom realizes that this, too, is part of his healing, letting go of the need to control the outcome and instead trusting that he and Lily can each play their part in raising their kids. One Saturday afternoon, Tom, Sarah, and the kids host a backyard picnic, inviting friends and family to celebrate his new beginning. It's a simple gathering, filled with laughter, games, and food. But for Tom, it symbolizes the life he's fought to reclaim. As he looks around at the people he loves, he feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He's come a long way from the heartbreak and betrayal, and he's emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever comes next. During a quiet moment, Sarah pulls him aside and tells him how proud she is of everything he's achieved. Tom, his heart full, thanks her for being by his side, for supporting him through his darkest days. They share a smile, both knowing that this journey has shaped them, brought them closer, and created a bond that's built to last. As the sun sets and the guests begin to leave, Tom takes a moment to reflect on the incredible journey he's been on. He remembers the man he was at the beginning of this story, broken, betrayed, and lost. But through every challenge, every moment of pain and growth, he's rediscovered himself, built a life filled with love and meaning, and proven that he's capable of rising above even the deepest heartbreak. In the end, Tom's story is one of resilience, of learning to let go of the past and embrace a future filled with hope. He's no longer defined by what happened to him, but by how he responded to it, by the strength he found within himself, and by the love he chose to build. As the lights dim and the final moments play out, we see Tom, Sarah, and the kids standing together, watching the last glimmers of the sunset. In that quiet, perfect moment, it's clear that this is the start of something beautiful, a new chapter filled with joy, peace, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And with that, we've reached the end of Tom's powerful journey. If you enjoyed following this story of resilience, love, and redemption, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We've got more inspiring and unforgettable stories coming your way. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.